And perfect. Now we have ourselves a big old empty space to work with. Lots of plans, lots of work. I'm really excited for this project and I'm very excited to show you guys what I have planned. Between episodes, I have been doing a lot of work on the base, and as I mentioned in the last episode, I was going to add a radar dish on top of the home. I'm not sure if I quite like it at the moment. It might stay, it might not, but apart from that, I have gotten started on making some terrain work around here, as well as some custom trees. They're nothing too crazy, but they definitely make a big difference. These trees here definitely change the atmosphere by a lot, and eventually, that's the plan. We're gonna have trees surrounding this entire home, casting a great old shadow over it, making it not feel as bare as it is now. But as we have here in the back, I mentioned that I wanted to connect this water tank to the home, and that's exactly what we've gone ahead and did here with this little bit of a pipe here running from the tank to the house. Apart from that, I have gone ahead and cleared out a lot more space for things such as more trees, more foliage, and like I mentioned in the last episode, I'll be cutting off this river on either side, creating more of a lake rather than a big river here. Just for educational purposes, I'll be disconnecting from my body here and showing you guys a bird's eye view of the plan here. So, this whole thing is gonna get shrunk by a lot, and we're gonna go ahead and, like I mentioned earlier, we're gonna surround this thing with trees, and it's gonna feel like a proper lake. More like a swamp, because I'm planning on adding a big old willow tree on the right side of the house over here, and I think it's just gonna look amazing. In other news, we have done some work on the storage room, and something that I just did not like was the black roof on top of the door here, so I've kind of gone with this organic wood to kind of match the door here. Going on inside, the first thing you'll notice is that I've gone ahead and chiseled this little area in here because I would like to have a portal here, because at the moment, this is my current portal situation. Yeah, not ideal, which is why I've opted to integrate the portal within the storage room for easy access. And apart from that, we now have ourselves, where is he? Oh, there he is. A pet chicken. He just randomly wandered on in here. He doesn't have a name, but you know, he could stay as long as he wants. I realized that maybe this space isn't enough, and I think that possibly expanding might be the right choice, especially when we move on to bigger and greater projects. Now, to get the idea across, what I'm going to do is outline the terrain for you guys so you guys have a better understanding of what the goal is here. Problem is, we don't have much dirt at the moment, so that's something that I'm going to go ahead and get first thing tomorrow morning, but I also wanted to mention that today I would like to tackle the interior of this build. It's going to be pretty interesting because I haven't really worked on spaces as big as this here. Mainly used to working on very confined and congested areas. So this could be a lot of fun. Still wondering if I'm going to keep that or not. But we'll see. Actually, right before I forget, I want to get rid of this portal here because it's just bothering me. Yeah, this is going to take a while. So the plan here is to integrate the portal within the cave walls and to ultimately make it feel like it sticks out, and it should draw your attention towards it, kind of make it feel a little mysterious. I don't have a design for this just yet, but I'm pretty sure if we just wing it, we'll get something pretty good. Now this is much better than having a portal awkwardly exist on a side of a build. I kind of didn't plan on it, but I decided to add all this red around the portal because the more I kind of looked at it, the more I kind of realized that it just made a lot more sense to kind of, like I mentioned, integrate it within the cave walls, at the same time make it stand out, kind of draw you in, right? So apart from that, I might tweak it here and there a little bit. But one thing that I am having trouble with is zombie piglin spawning. Not sure why that is. They just keep spawning every now and again, and they start roaming around here. And the thing is, I don't want to have to turn on and off the portal every single time I want to use it. So if you guys have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments down below. That would be muchly appreciated, because I did consider adding fence gates on the bottom here, but that would just take away from the look. So yeah, let me know if there's anything I could do. So now I'm just collecting some dirt here so we could go ahead and get started on the outlining process. At the same time, clearing out this little bit of a hill that used to be here, because I'm planning on outlining a lot around here, especially flattening out some of these hilltops over here. Now, I don't exactly have a plan on what to do after I build the lake here, but maybe I might end up having houses kind of surrounding it, and then later on I might add a water tank kind of on top of the hill here. Now, the theme here isn't necessarily medieval, it's more like a rebuilt society in a way. You could imagine it as somebody coming along, finding an abandoned town and kind of repurposing it for their own needs. Still working on the lore back here, still trying to figure out what the story is behind this, but I'm pretty sure it'll come to us. So the overall idea with the shape that we'll be going for, as in for the lake, will be more of a circular organic shape, which means a lot of diagonals, and diagonals are always fun to do because it's kind of a trick, you know. It's all about making it feel organic, kind of making it feel unorganized in a way, because once things kind of become uniform, that's when it starts to break away from the natural aspect of it, and it becomes more like man-made. But I'm realizing now that this is going to take a lot more dirt and grass than expected, because this is supposed to cover a huge portion of land on both sides. Because don't forget, we're creating actual hilltops here and not just big old empty land. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited on collecting stacks upon stacks of dirt. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I was being sarcastic, by the way. Okay, so I have completed the first portion of this landscaping here, and if you guys haven't noticed already, it's not necessarily connected to the mainland here, and that is because I want to create some sort of passage in between peninsulas. That way we could row our boats right on in and out as we please. And I was thinking about adding possibly a fishing dock right around here, maybe a boating dock on around this area. So still thinking about that, but as in for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and complete the terrain layout for you guys. So I'll be back when that's done. So this here is the idea. 3 relatively small peninsulas that outline a unique organic shape for a lake in the middle. And I've also gone ahead and shaped out some potential spots for some heavy rocks and boulders to kind of break up the turns a little bit. So at this point, all that there's really left to do is fill in the outlines and add in our trees. And the way I'm planning on doing that is by adding a whole bunch of pine trees, and in the middle or the gaps I'm planning on adding these kind of bushes, because the way I've kind of designed them is that traditionally these pine trees tend to have a thinner bottom, meaning you see a lot of air gaps as opposed to like the top. So adding like some of these like random bushes every now and again will definitely help its cause a lot. The plan is not to necessarily create a big hill, rather to continue an open canvas to later have room for smaller builds in the future. But before we can get started on anything, we will need the materials first. This will take a while. And after several hours of resource gathering, we are now ready to begin the terraforming and landscaping for this lake. And a lot has changed here since the last clip, mainly because of the material gathering, so don't worry, all this extra stuff you see around here will eventually go away. Eventually. But I am very excited to get started on this, because this will make a huge difference in the environment around us, and it's a start on a great new project. So the first thing I'll get started on here is filling in the outline, so that way we have an actual surface to plant trees over. After that, I'll start by building a couple thin pine trees here and there, and from that point on, we'll fill in the gaps with custom bushes. Does that sound like a plan? Great, because now I'm gonna get started. now we have more land and some new trees. I'm telling you, once you start to add foliage to an area, it really changes the entire vibe. Am I pleased with the results? Of course. Is it done? Not even close. And we still have many more to do, which includes covering these gaps in between the trees here and easing the transition through the land and into the water. And of course, by adding more land, we have given ourselves more opportunities to expand and grow our efforts here. Might just build a large forest, or maybe we could scatter smaller builds around here. I'm not sure yet. But we are far from done. The surrounding landscape still feels very bare and empty, and throughout these next episodes we will fix that by adding much more, making it feel a lot more natural as opposed to man-made. I didn't yet get the chance to build that big willow tree over here cause that would just require so many leaves, and to be honest, I'm kinda drained. Maybe we'll get it by the end of the video, who knows. And now let us shift our attention to the inside of the lake house. Surprise, surprise, it's still empty, but that's gonna change soon. We also have a new friend who will be turned back into a villager and maybe could start our trading hall. That's a possible idea. So whoever's living in this house wouldn't necessarily be the most organized person. I've always imagined this house full of clutter and lots of interesting collections of sorts. But I'm gonna need a moment to figure out what I want to do on the inside. I'll be right back. Okay, here is the idea. The plan is to go for more of an open concept, mainly because if I were to add rooms, they'd be very small ones, and it would just not make any sense. Plus, I feel like having an open area could really challenge us in creating a story for a character and help sell the idea that there really is someone living here alone in the middle of nowhere. So my goal here is to add lots of small details so that way the more you look, the more you'll notice little things here and there. And you can see here that I've planned out a potential layout so that way when we enter, you climb a set of stairs to get into the actual level where the living quarters will be, and up here most likely where the bedroom is going to be. This will be quite a challenge, but I'm sure I could cook something up. I'll be right back. And now we have ourselves an interior. Let me give you a quick tour. Now the first thing you'll notice as soon as you walk in, apart from the zombie villager, is just the amount of small little details scattered around, which really helps characterize this build. For example, this here is kind of supposed to be a generator of some sort to kind of build off the idea that we're in the 21st century here and whoever's living here really needs to adapt to new technologies, and because there are no power lines or power grids anywhere near here, the best source of power is to generate it locally. And something I would like to change in the future is the middle area right here. I want to know if there's maybe something I could do in order to clutter up this space even more. If you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comments. Also, if you haven't noticed, I have built a couple of bird cages suspended in the ceiling here, and we've got ourselves our first parrot, and hopefully in the future we could get more to kind of give the place a little bit more life. And as an added bonus, I've ended up building that willow tree, and let me tell you, that made a huge difference. One of the first things I wanted to do when planning this project was to add a willow tree that is kind of resting on the side of the lake house, and I think we were able to just about achieve that. But I can never stress this enough. My number one tip when it comes to building great things is to attach a story with it, because this will force you to create an environment surrounding the build, which ultimately gives you the result of a build that actually belongs there, as opposed to just plopping down a build and calling it a day. So I hope you learned a thing or two watching this video. My goal is to teach small but effective ways to optimize builds using simple methods. And yes, I understand building a custom lake is not simple. But the point here is, as long as you have yourself a story to tell, you can create something that has value and can later be expanded on. But that just about wraps up this episode. I know this one was a short one, but stay tuned as we have bigger things coming up in our next episode. So with that, my name is Ultra161 and I'll see you all in the next one.